This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English Full Volume, where I am here with
Dan the Man.
And do you know what we're talking about today, Dan?
Of course not.
Of course not. Just another article I've seen in the news, and it's about a Swedish politician called Per-Erik Muskos. Obviously, that's the correct pronunciation. Who wants to give people an extra hour's break at work to go home and get it on.
Really?
What do I mean when I say get it on?
Have sex. I should move to Sweden.
Yeah.
And get a job.
Exactly. Well, get a job would be a good start, Dan.
Yeah.
Apparently, he says it's healthy and makes people happy. And there are a shortage of babies, apparently, in Sweden. So he says, it's physical activity. We've got a lack of babies. So let's kill two birds with one stone and get people to go home and shag. Shag's another word, Dan. What does that mean?
Fuck.
But have sex. So we could just do a whole show on words that mean have sex. So I was thinking about this. I just thought, the logistics of this. Because from what I understand, they have their normal lunch break of 1 hour. And then in the afternoon, they then go home just to shag. How could you come back into the office and everyone knows that you've just gone home and shagged?
I think they will just extend your lunch by an hour.
Yeah, I still wouldn't be very comfortable, speaking,
And what about the people everyone in the office knows is clearly not having sex?
Well,
there's always that person.
This is it. This is what I think the more embarrassing thing, because, this Per-Erik Muskos hasn't forgotten about the single people, and he has said to them, don't worry, I will give you an hour off as well. But if it's specifically for that, let's say you're in an office, you sit next to someone, this other person's got a girlfriend. He knows you haven't got one. That hour comes along. So when I say comes along in that sense, it means arrives. He goes home, comes back, all of his hair sort of messed up, and then you come back. It's just...
Yeah. I'd probably be back early myself. Yeah.
If you are referring to how long it takes you to have sex, then
I wasn't talking about.
Nobody wants to know about that. Anyway, you used to do some strange stuff on your lunch break, didn't you? I remember you used to tell me you used to go into your car and read a book. Was it?
Well, reading is that weird?
But to go in your car, and I remember you sort of telling me people would look out the window. It's like, oh, what's Dan doing? He's just sitting in his car reading a book.
Yeah, but the thing is, everyone would be quite loud watching awful TV in the rec room.
In the rec room? Oh, recreation room.
Yeah.
All right. You nearly caught me out there, Dan. What does it mean if you nearly caught me out?
It means I put you in a position where you were unprepared.
Yeah, well, you nearly did, but I am prepared for every situation, Dan.
Are you?
I was born ready, baby.
I can't even remember what we were talking about.
Well, that's how interested he is. He just can't even remember what we were talking about 5 seconds ago. Remember, we've spoken about this before. Memory of a goldfish. You were telling us about you in your car, Dan, reading books.
Yeah, I read on my lunch break. I mean, that's not too strange. What do you do on your lunch break?
Honestly, I remember back in the day, so I think we used that on a recent podcast, like years ago in the good times, let's say, when no one had the internet on their phones. When I worked at a bank, I had nothing to do. I used to walk around, and then I found a library that had free internet access, and I used to go there and use Facebook.
Oh my God. You definitely weren't having sex on your lunch break, were
you? Absolutely not. But I was looking at pictures of attractive women, Dan. So, it's the same thing in the end, isn't it?
You were looking at porn sites?
No, Dan, just attractive women I was friends with on Facebook.
That's not creepy.
So creepy, remember, something that sort of makes you feel strange, something or uncomfortable. Weird. Yeah, so on that weird, uncomfortable note, I think it's time to say goodbye, Dan.
Yeah, all right, I'll speak to you later.
Goodbye. Okay, so that was Dan the Man and me speaking about sex on your lunch break. That sounds good. Remember, the transcript to this episode is available in the members area. If you want to be part of the members area, go to rockandrollenglish.com/full volume. Very simple, just put your email address in there and we will invite you into the group. Only a few days left of the free trial now. If you like it, join. If you don't bother. It's up to you. It's a free world. You can have sex on your lunch break now. We can do what we want. It's 2018. Anyway, let's look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. At the beginning, we had get it on. So the man, I can't remember his name, the politician wants to give people extra time to go home and get it on, which means to have sex. Speaking of sex, we also had the word shag, which means to have sex. Again, it's not the nicest thing to say, but it is quite common. And before that, I actually said, let's kill two birds with one stone and get people to go home and shag. Let's kill two birds with one stone is another very nice rock and roll piece of vocabulary. Do two things at the same time, obviously. The most rock and roll piece of vocabulary of today's show, though, was from me, as always, not Dictionary Dan, when I said he nearly caught me out. This was when he said he was in the rec room. So if you catch someone out, it means you catch them unprepared. So I was nearly not prepared because I didn't know what he meant when he said the rec room. But, I'm always prepared. I was born ready. So he nearly caught me out, but he didn't catch me out. He didn't catch me unprepared. I'm always prepared. We had the term back in the day. I think we had that last week as well, which was like back in the glory days, let's say, in the good times. You can use that for anything. You can say back in the day when computers were not around, back in the day when people used records and not iPods, for anything. The good times, let's say. And remember, that's the second time we've had that now in more or less a week. And we need that daily exposure to remember these words. Remember, minimum 7 times to remember the word. So, daily exposure. Yes, please. And we had creepy. When something is creepy, it makes you feel sort of uncomfortable and not very good. Generally, if someone looks at you for a long time without speaking to you, that's a bit creepy. Anyway, on that creepy note, it's time to say goodbye. But don't worry, I'll be back in your ears tomorrow. And until Friday, because that's when the free trial ends. So if you want to continue, rockandrollenglish.com/full volume. Keep on rocking, people.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.